Second candidate for House District 65A is Rena Moran.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. I just want to say a special, I hear that we have some students here from Cretin, so I just want to say welcome, and I hope you enjoy this time. My name is Rena Merriam. I'm a candidate for state representative in District 65A. Decided to get into this race because I felt that there was a voice missing at the Capitol, the voice that I represent. I am a progressive Democrat who believes in social, racial, and economic justice, but I'm also a mother, a community organizer, and community leader who strongly feels as though my voice can be the voice for the district that I represent. 10 years ago, I came to the state of Minnesota looking for a safe and stable environment to raise my kids, and I found myself homeless. Now I'm a homeowner in the Rondo community, and I had my share of minimum wage jobs, but now with my degree, I'm apparently the coordinator with a nonprofit that prevents child abuse. In 2008, I, as a lead organizer for an organization called Urban Embassy, I registered almost 1,000 first-time voters because I really believe in the political process. I really believe that your vote is your voice is your vote. And I worked to introduce a bill with Hire Minnesota that would bring jobs and resources to a community for the low-income community, minority women, and contractors. And got a lot of pushback about that legislation because it had words like that in there. It was the stimulus money that was coming down from the Obama administration, and people and legislators were saying, well, you know, we have jobs are coming, people get jobs. And our pushback was sometimes jobs do not reach communities of color. So we pushed back and that bill was passed. And so I just have had the opportunity to organize and work in communities, to engage communities, and just very, very excited to take the next step to become the next state representative in District 65A. And I hope that come November the 2nd, I will be able to do that.
Thank you. Our first candidate from Minnesota House District 65B is Carlos Mariani.
Thank you. Good evening. Buenas tardes. Thank you for the invitation to be here, Linda, and to the League of Women Voters, one of the great institutions that we have in St. Paul. I've participated in a number of these over the years, and it's great that we have active citizens who worked awfully hard to make sure that all our neighbors get exposure to the candidates and the political process and to government. I want to particularly welcome all the young people who are here today. It's really encouraging to see young people early learning about their government, because it is about your government. And I live over on the west side of St. Paul. I'm married. I have 3 kids and 2 grandchildren. And that issue of government belonging to the people is why I ran for office in the first place, and it's why I'm running for office again this year. I currently serve as the House Chair for the, or rather as a chair for the House K-12 Education Committee. K-12 education is the people's business. Roughly about close to half of the state budget is consumed by K-12 education. Minnesotans have been very clear about the values of educating their young people. Minnesotans have been very clear about the fact that government is their tool, their instrument to build a better life in this country. And so those, very simply, that's the thing that I am most committed to, is this concept that government belongs to us. It is our tool, and I want to I continue to bring my commitment to that and my skills in terms of working on behalf of the people that I represent in the incredibly wonderful, diverse district that I do. I look forward to today's conversation.
Thank you. And the final candidate from Minnesota House District 65B is Jamie Delton. Jamie?
Thank you, Linda. I also love the district that I share with Carlos. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming, Cretin kids. I really appreciate you being here. There are big differences between me and Carlos, but let me just tell you a little bit about myself first here, and I will go over some of the highlights of the legislation and the differences between me and Carlos. I was born in Wisconsin, and I came here in 1977 with my folks, and I went to St. Paul Technical College, and I worked for St. Paul Academy as a maintenance professional for 12 years, and then After that, I entered the computer industry in 1997 and worked at iqmarketing.com for 12 years. The legislation that I will support is pro-business in the legislature. Carlos is, I think, a progressive, he would describe himself as, and I oppose that philosophy, which includes the Central Corridor. I oppose the Central Corridor project. It will cause congestion and pollution even after the construction ends. The pro-business legislation that I will propose and support includes a lot of existing legislation in the legislature that failed to pass last cycle. And I have the Minnesota Internet Tax Freedom Act, which is based on the wildly successful federal act, which I will tell you more about soon tonight. The Obamacare cost is very great, and I will also be talking about that, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll now start with our questions, and I would remind you that you have 1 minute for your responses, and then we will also have the 1 minute follow-up. Okay? So you can gauge your speaking accordingly. We'll start this first question with Michael Paymar, and we might as well start with the tough one first. We all know that the state is facing a huge budget shortfall. How do you propose to help solve the problem for the next budget?
Well, we all hope that the economy improves, but all of the projections is that we're going to have probably a $6 billion deficit, as I said earlier. We are constitutionally bound to resolve the budget deficit. I mean, we can't borrow like some states do. We cannot go into that kind of debt for our operating expenses. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions. And it's not going to be easy, because I know we're going to have to make some targeted cuts. But I also think that we need to look at our tax structure and change it so it's more equitable and progressive. And we are going to have to raise some revenue in this state. And I'm hoping that our tax system will be such that we won't have to have these boom and bust cycles whenever the economy goes bad. And finally, let me say that I think one thing that the legislature has failed to do, and that is to look at government reform over the long term and start implementing that right away. And I hope we can accomplish that in this next session.
Paul Holmgren.
Thank you. First way to solve a budget crisis like this is to go to a zero-based budgeting, where every dollar by every commissioner and every department head has to be justified. Part of the budget deficit problem is that when they take last year's budget, they go, okay, well, we're projected to increase this budget by 12%, and maybe this other piece of the budget by 5%, and all of a sudden you're at a huge, oh, well, next year's budget, if we just put it on a spreadsheet and run these numbers, is $6 billion over. We need to do zero. And the second thing is we need to have a fire sale, what I would call a fire sale. We need to look at inefficiencies in government, including property and programs, and just cut them completely. Thank you.